Yeah, hello everybody, and welcome to a new mini-series I'm going to do. You're not going to see any actual gameplay in here, but I'm going to call this Pure Power, and I'm going to show you some of the best strategies I've used during the campaign. So depending on the strategies, this one for example, I completely came up with myself, but obviously as a good war lead, what you do is you copy from others, and that's completely the case for a bunch of other strategies, where I copied from what I saw from other war leads during battles, and from YouTube, whatnot, and adapted it, and then refined it, and played with it, and so on. And these are really strategies which I believe are extremely strong, at least in the current meta and moment, right? That can change at any point in time, and there might even be counters to some of them which I'm not aware of. But yeah, these strategies which I will be presenting on the YouTube channel are really amongst the best ones I found, and ones which I really wanted to play all the time in the campaign. Like when I had these maps with these sides, I was always pretty damn confident that if I didn't do any fuck-ups, I would win. And the way I'm going to structure this, I'm going to build the strategy with you, also show how it looked like in the actual map tactic, and I'll basically make it a mixture of how it would be like in my brain, processing, building a strategy, and also the kind of information I give to the players before the battle, which is basically very similar. So for this one, I'm going to do a strategy from Murovanka side 2, which is the bottom side. Side 2 is always red and 1 is green. For landings, it doesn't really matter, since most of the time we're playing landings in the campaign, and side 2, side 1 still meant that you had to win in either case, but especially when you were obviously defending or attacking a province, side 1 is the defending side and side 2 is the attacking side. That will be more important if we come to some other maps, like mines, for example. So for Murovanka, I decided basically that I wanted to find a solution to an issue I always had, which is basically if you go left, and they go left, that's great, you have a fight. If you go right and they go right, that's great, you have a fight. But if you go right and they go left, or if you go left and they go right, then it very quickly becomes a split map with each side having one part of the map, and it's basically really hard. Well, you can't cap, and it's very hard to push, right? You can imagine if you take this side, you hold these positions, and they're holding the hold downs here and here and here. How do you push across this open field, right? Sure, you've got some cover here, but it's not really cover either. You get murdered from all sides because they're hold down with crossfires and stuff like that. So I decided I wanted to start with kind of a split map setup, figure out something like that, and react to the enemy. So I want to react to the enemy. First of all, I need a spotter. For that, I want to go spot here because that's a very important spot to get at the beginning. And considering it's quite common to try and snipe these kind of spotters, and this is a very aggressive spot, and also because it is a map where light tank can be used in general and can be quite useful, during the course of the campaign, even quite quickly, I decided to run with a T100 there. So we've got a T100 who's going to go there, but he's not going to stay there because that's pretty much suicidal, right? So his job is to go like that and get away. Can I make that into an arrow? This is in Spanish because I got my Google Chrome in Spanish, and I don't know, you guys are going to have to deal with it. Not too important, I think. Okay, then, and this is part of the true magic of this tactic. I'm not going to go too much into the details, but if you want to be a good wallet, you need to go to training rooms. And I went into training room with a bunch of players a couple of times, and I figured out that the ESL position here, you can use a patch head or whatnot. Well, if you have some fun falling over the trees and you know how to do that, and you understand the camo system, and you've got some players with some brains, you can put 2 striffs here in the back, or 1 or 3 or whatever, right? But you can put striffs here in the back, and they're able to stay unspotted till the enemy gets there. So, to not let the enemy get there, so that the striffs stay unspotted, I decided to put 2 I7s here. I don't know if you know the map as well as I do maybe, but right here is kind of the curvature, so this is a hold down position, right? So I've got 2 I7s, all the I7s in HOOT basically had optics during the campaign, and I always used I7s with optics with 500 plus view range when I actually cared about the view range, such as in this case. So I had 2 I7s here who were basically able to spot all of this area, and I had 2 striffs here behind who were able to support them, and we're able to shoot basically all of this. Obviously the striffs weren't able to shoot up here, right? But that's that. Okay, then I also decided to run, in order to defend the left side, first of all, I wanted to have a spotter here. So since these tanks are very far away, right, I didn't want to defend this too aggressively because then I could just get overrun, right? And I also needed to be able to react really quickly between both sides. So I run a bad chat which I can put here. There's kind of this ditch or hill or ridgeline or whatever you want to call it, and he can just stand there either on the ridge or in one of the bushes, and he's able to see any push coming in time and then run away back here. And yeah, he gives me a lot of information, and hence if I see them already here, all these guys, the Striffs, can get here, and I'll come back towards the I7 pass later. I also wanted to have some tanks in this area, because if they push into this, obviously having these hold down to farm this and so on is glorious. And also having this higher ground can be super useful. For example, if they try and go here and they play on this side, right? Having 1-2 tanks here. So I changed a bit during the campaign, but in the end I run let's go for the full name, Super Conquerors. I'll double check in the end that I'm actually doing exactly the same tactic I did, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, anyway, well, that's quite clear. You're gonna not get too confused by the S, are you? Yeah. Then I definitely also, you need to have this spot here, I believe. And also, I wanted to have one more bat shot for sure on this map, right? Just one bat shot is not enough for a map like Murovanka or just 2 spotters. And yeah, I definitely wanted to have this spotting round, because then between this one, I was able to spot quite deep into this. And this, I would know if they do anything aggressive for sure, and even if they play very defensive and try not give much information by crossing in the back and so whatnot, I should be able to get some general information on what the enemy is doing. However, this bat chat 2 is not going to stay there, just going to do a spotting round and then pretty much get out. I think I ended up, this is a good question. I will check in the tactic later. At some point, like for a while, I ran a bat shot here at the church, but I don't know if that was because there were some mispicks and issues with tank picks, or because that was my actual plan. Anyway, Murovanka is an open map, so I want to play with artillery. However, I'm running a tactic where I'm stretching very thin, so I don't feel like I can run 2 artilleries. So yeah, I ended up running just 1 RT on this map. It allowed me to be very flexible and aggressive and be able to push if I tried to camp. And I just put that artillery there. It might look like a shitty position because it's not really safe in any way. But this way, if the enemies push here, then the fighting is in this area, the RT can quickly run to, like, let's say here, and just keep shooting, and not die in any case. And same, if the enemy's pushing here, we see it early enough, the RT can just run here, it's safe, it's in a ditch, and it can shoot anything here for days. And then we still have a bunch of tanks left, namely 5. Yep. And we are getting there. And so I decided I wanted to run a bunch of 5As and 907s, basically a mixture. 5As because I wanted to have some more heavies in there, and 5As are just really strong in the meta. But 907s, because on a map like Murovanka, you do want to have some more tanks with camo and good mobility, like actually really good mobility, than just 2 bat shots and 1 T100, which is not really a fighting force, right? Especially since I'm also running 2 Striffs, which, well, don't scout at all. So I'm running 3 5As, and I'm running 2 907s. Obviously, you can definitely play. You could play with 5 907s. Honestly, you could play with 1 5A and 4. You could play even with full 5As if you want to. Yeah. Basically, choose a mixture. But I ended up running with this the entire campaign. And those job was to stay here at the beginning. Why? Because from this area, there's a couple positions where you can shoot an enemy spotting around here. In the end, most of the time, I had shitty players, so they all missed their shots. But I didn't really care where they are at the beginning, right? I wanted to make sure I have this information. I wanted to make sure I have this information. I want to make sure I have these snipers that are ready to shoot. But these guys are my reaction force, and I'll pretty much explain that in a second, I think. I think even now that I've melted this tactic with you, let's have a look at the actual map tactic I used in the campaign, which is this one. As you can see, actually, oh yeah, okay, I remember now. I had a bat chat here at the church, and this bat chat first did a spotting ground up here, and then went over there. That's how I solved that in the end. Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, you can see a little difference, right? To that, but I guess you all understand. And like I said, this T100 isn't staying here and whatnot. The point of this bat chat here is that if the enemy drives into this, or if they have a bat chat doing a too aggressive spotting round, you can basically get a free clip and even kill that guy while you're still very safe. Another advantage is that if they try and rush, for example, here at the beginning with, for example, to this house with bat shots or TVPs to try and kill this T100, which is a tactic which is kind of common, I would say. Well, we've got the bat chat which can, first of all, get spots, keep the spots when they're running away, get in some damage, maybe even stop them from clipping him, and so on. Okay, so these are the initial positions, right? I've got a bat chat going here, bat chat doing a spotting run going here, T100 doing a spotting run here, and everyone is exactly where the icons are. And then the question is, what am I telling to my players? And this is what I pretty much told them. If we see the enemy pushing over here, then these guys are to immediately rush in over here, with at most 1 or 2 staying here in case they have a lot of tanks here in the high ground, because from down here you don't have that good shots on that. But basically, rush down here, join the I-7s, and just shoot them. If, on the other hand, like, enemies are rushing yalla 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 with like 50 mediums, then might even just let the I-7s die, just get ready here, go down and shoot, shoot, shoot. That we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, I guess you can count the RD, 6, 7 guns, all only supporting these I-7s if they get pushed. Furthermore, the super kongs would pretty much stay there for now and just shoot on anything here, unless the enemy goes full yalla rush, in which case the super kongs have to just move their ass and see how they somehow get into the fight. And yeah, however, if we see the enemy taking the side but not going super aggressive, then I can use this Batchat and these 2 907s to quickly go and take this flank, and even the T100. A force of 5 tanks is normally always enough to take a flank. If the enemy is on the other flank, because if they have 2-3 Batchats or a Batchat and a double TVP trap, that's really, really easy to kill. And having the 2 907s is also really, really nice in case exactly we meet tanks such as TVPs or other Batchats, because 907 armor is really, really useful in those kind of dogfights. In that case, however, since I'm putting these 2 tanks away, at least 1 super konk is to immediately go here, and possibly even the other one. And yeah, that was pretty much the plan for that. Counting on the Striffs to be OP, having good positions. If they just go here and stop, then they just take a lot of damage and run away again. If they rush in, they kill 2 I-7 at some point, the Striffs are in. Really have some fun in training room. They're in really abusive positions. And then the enemy is just in the crossfire in the bottom of a ditch with us having the entire map. On the other hand, if the enemy is pushing on this side, right? For example, pushing with heavies here and pushing with mediums here, I would say that's kind of a common strategy. If you look at the YouTube videos, some of them are already out, some are still going to come where I run a strategy. I run into that a couple of times. Then the number 1 priority, is to not lose this area. These hold down, and there's positions here, absolutely murder this. Being down here is completely useless, basically. However, yeah, the enemy is rushing this, they need to get killed. So, what was my reaction to that? If I told, first of all, the super kongs at all times, you see the icons are very far back, and to stay very far back, because super kongs are really slow. So if the enemies rush in there, they need to be able to fall back, even all the way to this ridge line here, and stay on the outside. Obviously, this Batchat sees them coming and is meant to run away, and it's meant to run away here. Basically, while the enemy is pushing here, the super kongs and anyone who has shots is to focus on the people pushing here, and not the heavies or anyone pushing down here. Simultaneously, this Batchat, not the T100, and these 5 tanks, so that makes 7 tanks in total, are to immediately just rush into these holes back here in the holdouts and hold that position. And I'm basically counting on them to be enough to win this fight. And since they're right here, they move there really quickly, even if the enemies just get spotted here with like all their Batchats. By the time the Batchats get here, I've got 5 guys there, ready, hold down, waiting, and giving them 3 shots when they're pushing. The Striffs immediately have to move over here, and basically from here they can snipe on anyone pushing the super kongs, they can get some shots into this general area, and they can just basically stay alive and snipe forever. Depending on the situation, 1 I-7 might need to stay to make sure that we don't get rushed in the back and our RT doesn't die and stuff like that, or either the T100 is able to still be alive and take care of spotting this flank, basically. Since the I-7s are normally going to be, if the I-7s are fast enough to also get into this, that's also their plan, but basically that's pretty unrealistic, because by the time mediums get spotted here and get into here, our I-7s are only here, and crossing this huge open right is completely suicidal if the enemies already have these positions, right? Here you're safe, but crossing here you're in the open and you get wrecked. So in that case, the plan is that the super kongs, which are already here, get basically joined by the I-7s doing something like this, and then we're able to take these outside positions here, and yeah, just trap the enemy all down here, win this fight, and that's how I would win that game. And yeah, last but not least, what are the other options? Well, first of all, the enemy could be camping in the forest, basically, right? In that case, I would hold these positions, make sure I secure this flank with my 907s and bat shots, then rotate even the super conks over there, rotate the 5As over there, slowly move up the I7s to here. Also probably figure out a way to get 5As or super conks into this area, so I've got the upper side from there too under control. Still make sure I have this and this covered with like a bat shot and 2 907s, and then just slowly asphyxiate the enemies, or if I really see a weakness, go for a really strong push, either down here or something. But basically, once you have a crossfire and you have an enemy cornered like this, they can't do much. And there's no way they can really hold these positions. The earliest they can hold is this. So not too worried about that. Similarly, if the enemy is kind of camping in this area, I would first make sure that they can't, surprise counter rush. So I would make sure I get some decent vision here. I know the enemies are not in the front over here, and I really know that they're mostly over here, which would then allow me to rotate the 5As and a couple even of the I7s maybe into this area and this area. Then I would be able to move 907s, bat shots, T100, again, always the same. Take this flank, make sure this is completely clear, and then I would basically try and asphyxiate them again. In that case, I would probably move I7 there to poke from there, or any kind of heavy. Make sure I have 1-2 heavies here, because from here you've got really nice shots into this area, maybe even the 2 super conks would rotate there. And then I would make sure I have 1-2 snipers here, maybe 907s. 1-2 bat shots covering this flank, figuring out how far they can go forward or not. And then the important part is to get in this ditch. Since the enemy right at that point can only have these positions, they can't really do anything about me moving up like this. And once I have these hold downs, I'm able to spot all of this area, basically constantly. And between these positions and these positions, able to grind down the enemy and just shoot them. Until at some point I can push somewhere really in and finish them off. So I would probably move into that with 5As, because they've got really nice gun depression and they're fast too. Or maybe even with super conks, because they've got even better gun depression. Or maybe even at first, if I'm really scared that they're going to counter rush, I would just move one spotter, maybe an I7, maybe a medium, and make sure there's a lot of support for him, just get some information before I move in with the rest of the tanks. Yeah, I think that pretty much covered pretty much everything. What's really important with a tactic like this is that everyone knows exactly what to do, because if the enemy gets spotted here and they're pushing into this area, for example, I don't even have time to say, okay, this bat shot, you go here, this bat shot, you go here, 5As, 907s, rush into this, quickly, IS7s, move over here, try and see if you can get here or here, it's SJVs, you need to get over here, super conks, make sure you focus this and fall back, bat shot here, you also need to get here, and T100, spot the right side. Right, that takes a lot of time, especially since pinging in-game is a bit more tricky, and I also have to drive and maybe shoot at the same time, and really every second matters, because if you're still in the open here, or the enemy already takes these positions and these positions, you absolutely lose the game. So yeah, you need to make clear before the game to all your players what you want to do, when you want to do it, why you want to do it, just like I explained to you guys, and from then you get instant reactions and nice win rates. I hope you actually enjoyed this video. I'm going to do a couple more of them, but I'm really curious what your feedback is. There's not going to be an infinite amount of them, there's not that many super strong strategies I have, but yeah. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and see you all next time. Genghis here. Bye bye.